Welcome to the Gedunk. Today we are discussing our top 5 Halloween movies.
That's right, and it's not necessarily got to be a Halloween, just your top 5 horror movies in this October spooktacular episode. And today we got our guest host with us, Captain Chris. How you doing, buddy?
Arr.
Yeah, it means he's doing well. What will our top 5 be? Stick around, we're about to find out. All right, everybody, so we're back. And we're going to start out with our number 5 favorite.
Movie number 5.
I got to tell you, mine is probably Phantasm, number 5 from 1979. And for me, it's more of a nostalgia thing. You know, for the movie that it was at the time, I thought was great. Like, I remember watching it when I was a kid at my mom's house with my mom, and I freaking loved that little killer ball flying around and stabbing people in the head and shooting blood out, you know. And then you had the freaking little Jawa, what were they, like Jawa zombies in it? They were running around, jumping on people's backs, trying to kill people. And then, of course, you had that tall man who was damn near invincible, it seemed like. And I just remember watching that as a kid, man, and the gore and just how cool it was, because I'd never really seen anything like that before. And you know, and just because of that, and like I said, because of nostalgia, and like I said, I love the idea of that little ball. It brought to light, you know, stuff that I hadn't seen before, right, in scary movies. You know, and I always like scary movies, but for me, this is like something new, and I really, really enjoyed that. So I've got to give that, you know, as my number 5 throughout, you know, for that reason alone, for nostalgia, and because it just brought something new for me when I was a kid, you know. And it, you know, for me, the series was pretty good too. And this is the, you know, first episode of the series, and I thought it was good. And hey, man, you know, I liked it. What do you guys think about it? You guys see it?
I've never seen this movie.
Never saw Phantasm. What about you, Chris?
It's probably been about 2.5 decades since I've last seen it, but
yeah.
I do remember that. I did think it was really cool, the little ball, you know, flying through the air, you know, stabbing people in the head and stuff like that. I thought that was a pretty cool take on horror.
Yeah, man. No, yeah, I thought so, dude. And I was, you know, and like I said, I was really enjoying, especially as a kid. You know, it was kind of weird to say, right? Most kids don't like scary crap like that, but I always thought that that movie was cool, and I definitely enjoyed it. So, hey, what about you, man? What's your number 5?
Who is he looking at?
You.
I think he's looking at you.
It's kind of hard to tell.
You.
He's looking at himself, I think, or the camera.
Now he's looking
Turn my
at
head to you. There you go.
So for me, number 5 was The Fog in 1980. One of the earliest memories I have of a horror film was The Fog. I actually watched it at daycare, if you can believe that.
It sounds about right.
I'm not sure if
we grew up in Texas. That's how Texas daycares were back in our day.
That's right, man. And so the Fog was directed by John Carpenter, who obviously is one of the most famous directors, producers of horror films of all time.
Oh yeah.
He did Halloween. He did The Thing, which is a phenomenal movie, and Prince of Darkness. Just a ton of them. And of course, we also know that coming out next year is going to be the latest and I think final installment of Halloween.
Absolutely. But Jamie Lee Curtis back.
That's right. And oh, by the way, in The Fog, Jamie Lee Curtis was also in this movie.
Yes, she was.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't seen this either, so it seems interesting.
Now, I never saw it either, but I did do a little background research, and I was going through my top 5, and I noticed that one. And when I saw she was in it, it kind of makes me like, man, I think I missed out on a good movie. I need to go back and watch that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's funny that of the kind of the 70s and 80s movies that John Carpenter did, he actually was not very happy with The Fog when it ended, or after he produced it. He didn't think that it stood up against the current gore slasher movies that were coming out in the early 80s. But I think that it stood the test of time, and that's really the most important thing is a lot of people can go back and say, you know, I really remember The Fog. I thought it was super creepy that this fog rolls in and that these derelict leper sailors came in to claim revenge over, for 100 years before, for being destroyed by the town who didn't want a leper colony being set up near them. And
I guess I don't blame him for that.
Yeah, no way. So the whole point of the story is that they came back 100 years later to claim revenge. And of course they couldn't get the revenge from the original people. So what they did is, they basically exacted their revenge on the not the ancestors, but
the newer people, the townsfolk, the newer townsfolk.
Well,
Younger generations.
it was six people in particular, and they were the descendants of the original townspeople that had them destroyed.
Right.
No more like a millstone, a plumbing stone, by God. Damn them all.
Gotcha.
So, reason why I liked it, it's a great kind of transition film between a minimalist horror film like Halloween, where you basically have the basic slasher. He chases you around everywhere you go, murdering people along the way. And then like the really gory stuff like The Thing. The Thing was a gory movie. It was meant to be scary through gore. The Fog was a ghost story. A ghost story with a little bit of gore, a little bit of psychological thrill to it. Great anticipation, some of the scenes. Good movie overall. My number 5.
Nice. All right, cool, man. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And like I said, when I was looking at it, I definitely was like, man, I need to check this movie out. So that's good. All right, Josh, what about you, bro?
Well, I got you all beat.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Casper. This stars Bill Pullman,
of course it
Christina Ricci. Came out in 1995, and you might not know this about Casper. It featured the first CGI character in a lead role, being Casper.
There's a girl on my bed. Yes.
Well, he is a friendly ghost.
He is the friendly ghost.
That's right.
And I thought this movie, for its time, was really well done. It's obviously a movie for all ages. Bill Pullman, I think, does really well. Casper looks great being early CGI, and I think it holds up pretty well.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, I liked Casper. I would not put that in my top 5 horror movies ever, but...
Well, I didn't say horror. I said Halloween,
right. Yeah,
and I was very clear about Halloween.
You're right. You were looking for Halloween aspects, so no, that's cool, man.
And they have a lot of impressions with other characters in this movie. They have Clint Eastwood, Mel Gibson, among others. So I liked it. I thought the story was pretty good. They took a cartoon kind of character and expanded on that and made it pretty good. And I think it like stands up to even these Disney movies today. So.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, man. Yeah, I think it definitely stands the test of time as far as that type of movie goes. And no, that's cool, man.
Yeah. So my number 5, Casper.
All right.
Movie number 4.
So my number 4 is Poltergeist from 1982.
Oh, okay.
And that was directed by Tobe Hooper, whose horror debut was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was.
And he was co-written and I believe co-produced by Steven Spielberg. Now, what else was going on in 1982? What movie do you think is going on in 1982 that would have had Spielberg's attention?
Oh, E.T.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't realize this, that Spielberg was part of Poltergeist. And it actually, when you watch the movie, it kind of has that Spielberg feel to it.
It definitely does.
The special effects and the music, the storytelling is very Spielberg. But because he was working on E.T. at the time, he was not allowed to work on anything else. So he kind of ghost produced, I would say, Poltergeist, but Tobe Hooper gets the credit. Now, looking back at this movie, I still remember why I love this movie. One of the biggest things is that it tells a great ghost story, okay? And I love the fact that the whole neighborhood was literally built on top of the remains of
Indian burial ground.
Indian burial ground. I mean, and I love that part of the movie when it's like, and you didn't move the bodies,
You left the bodies and you only moved the headstones! You only moved the headstones!
I mean, it's like,
And who can forget the iconic like TV screen scene and things like that?
yeah, and that brings up a great point because you don't need gore to make a movie scary.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, a lot of the movies relies on psychological thrill. And one of the best parts in the movie that I think presents this is when they were all gathered around the little lady who was the psychic, right? Who was trying to get in touch with the ghost. She was explaining to the mother that the little girl was okay.
To her, it simply is another child. To us, it is the beast.
And I just thought that one scene, the way she described it in her little voice and the way she was talking was building that great anticipation. And it was creepy. You know, the girl sitting in front of the thing was creepy. But of course, the creepiest thing of that whole freaking movie was that damn clown.
Oh, yeah, dude. That was awesome. Yeah. I tell you what, man. Yeah, that movie bring back memories. So my mom and dad took me to see that movie when I was 6 years old. I think they thought me and my brother were sleeping because, you know, it was at a drive-in, you know, way back in the day, you know, with the drive-in theater. And we saw the movie. Well, I wasn't sleeping, and I had nightmares for like weeks. I remember I'd probably be coming into their bedroom, like trying to crawl in their bed at night. It was, yeah, man. Oh, yeah, dude. That was a good movie, man.
It's kind of interesting, too, because I saw this movie a couple of years ago, and the special effects, of course, are dated, and you kind of wonder when you go back and you're an adult now and you look at these movies and you go, "What was I afraid of?"
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
Right, exactly.
But I'll tell you, the last point I want to make on this that a lot of people don't really think about is that 1982 was a great year for Hollywood because this movie got kind of a meh, reception. Siskel and Ebert, they split their opinion on it. But Poltergeist made about $100 million. Now, in today's money, that's pretty good. But back then, that was phenomenal, especially when you're going up against E.T. Let's see here, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan,
wow.
Rambo: First Blood.
Oh yeah, man. Wow.
Rocky III, Conan the Barbarian, and The Dark Crystal. I mean,
wow, yeah. No, dude, that's pretty impressive. That is.
Yeah, it's very impressive. And
a lot of good movies in the 80s, man.
Yep.
A lot of good movies in the 80s.
Which is why we see a lot of movies today, like using that time frame.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. You look at Stranger Things, stuff like that, man. Oh, yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
Well, plus the music was the best back then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Excellent music.
So my number 4 is Poltergeist.
All right, man.
All
number
right.
4 down. Josh, what about you, brother? What's number 4?
You ready for number 4?
Yeah, I think we are.
I see you cheating. My number 4 is Scooby-Doo.
Holy cow. Which one? Which Scooby-Doo?
Now, here's the thing. Scooby-Doo is amazing. It came out in 1969, and it continues to this day, which shows how strong that franchise and property is.
Yep.
And they keep reinventing it. And they just came out with Scoob not too long ago. Now, I wasn't too big on that one. But I grew up on Scooby-Doo cartoons.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I
to
think
me,
we all
this
did.
was like Halloween, kind of scary for like a young child. And I just loved the mystery of it, the characters. Who doesn't love Scooby and Shaggy?
I'll have whatever he's having.
Oh, yeah, man.
I didn't even mind the movie in 2002 with Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr. And did you know James Gunn did the screenplay for that? It's kind of interesting. The big Guardians of the Galaxy guy. So he has ties to it.
Wow, okay.
And I thought that was cool, especially with like the ending where they made Scrappy the villain, and everyone hates Scrappy generally.
You don't have the scrote for this job, Pally. Ah, listen up, losers. The time has come that you appoint me your unquestioned leader. Either that or I'm out of here.
So I thought that was cool. They did that. That movie's like kind of okay, but Scooby has like a special place in me, and I had to put it on the list somewhere. So there it is. Number 4, Scooby-Doo.
All right, man. No, I can feel you on that, man. I loved some Scooby-Doo when I was growing up as a kid. It was awesome just trying to sit there and figure out the mystery yourself, we were trying to figure out, all right, man, which
Sometimes it didn't make any sense, but
And it was always those damn kids that ruined it, so.
Yes, might have gotten away with it, too. It wasn't for these blasted kids and their dog.
Yeah, no, man, that's okay. I can see that, man. I can see Scooby-Doo being up there for sure, man. What about you, Chris? What do you think about that?
No, I have great and fond memories of watching Scooby-Doo, and I thought it was I saw that movie as well. I thought it was kind of like when we saw Flintstones on the screen for the first time with John Goodman. To me, I just thought, wow, this is live action goodness and of some of the most classic cartoons ever made.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. That's a good point.
And and if it wasn't for those damn meddling kids,
they'd all gotten away with it.
yeah, and I thought Matthew Lillard did a pretty good job on that.
Scooby-Doo, where are you?
Yeah, he did.
And I was kind of disappointed to not have him do the voice in the latest Scoob cartoon, but
he does voice him in a lot of the later cartoons and stuff. So yeah, he definitely does a great job.
And Casey Kasem, he was just
classic,
phenomenal.
dude.
So
absolutely, man.
Yeah, but like we're not interested in exciting, we're interested in exiting. So we'll stay right here by the exit.
All right, guys. Well, for me, 1979, year I was born. Hellraiser by Clive Barker. It's Clive Barker's first movie that he put out. For me personally, man, that movie scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. You know? Like the whole Hellraiser series scared the crap out of me, man. But just watching that first one, man, and what I really loved about that movie was just how, again, kind of like Phantasm was different. This one was way different too, right? 'Cause you got Pinhead and all his little freaking all his little minions, and they're all creepy as crap looking. And then you got this freaking the bad guy Frank, who is basically just nothing but a big hunk of flesh and bone, and he's trying to get this woman to bring in more people to kill and to soak up their blood to try to get life back into him and stuff. And I remember just watching that, man. I was like, man, this is brutal, man. Just freaking, and of course when they kill Frank in the beginning, and it just shows all his flesh is just like getting filleted from his body, right? Yeah, and I was like, oh man, I mean that movie was was just brutal. The storyline was cool, and then I like how they took that into the sequels, where the girl in part 2 is trying to get her, save her father from hell and all that. And I just, and then one thing I liked, the kind of take that they put to it too was, when Pinhead is like, you know what? To some people we're angels, or no, to some people we're demons, to others we're angels, right? Depends on how sadistic you are, right? If you're a crazy sadistic freak who enjoys pain, then we're your angels, But if not, then we're if you don't like it, then we're your demons.
And such an iconic character, the Pinhead guy, with all the pins on his head. It's just
and his voice. I mean, I love the guy's voice in it.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Classic horror movie, man. And I mean, it just, especially for its time, dude. I just loved it.
I'm surprised they haven't reinvented that one yet.
Well, they did in 2011. They tried reinventing it. It just wasn't as
I mean, that's 10 years ago now.
It flopped big time. Yeah,
that's why you don't remember it.
But yeah, exactly. Because I never saw it, But yeah, man. I mean, that to me, man, that movie was just fantastic, dude. Loved it. And of course, I like Clive Barker's work, but that series, man, is just excellent series.
Movie number 3.
My number 3, give me some sugar, baby. What is it, Billy?
Oh, yeah, Evil Dead, man, but 1 or 2.
Army of Darkness, the third one in the series.
Wow, okay.
I love it. It's kind of a comedy, and it's got a little horror elements in there.
Yeah, I can dig it.
Ash Williams, Bruce Campbell, how can you beat that? Guy's iconic in that role. And this movie's different, because the other ones are kind of your typical horror scary movie. But this one is very light, and so many quotes from Ash on this one. I mean, I just love this movie. I love the effects. I love everything about it.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but 2 things right now. Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
Nah, that's a great flick, man. I gotta agree on that one, dude. I loved that movie, man. Army of Darkness was awesome. Love the first 2. I love that whole series, dude. It was a fantastic freaking series of movies, and again, it's just iconic,
Yeah, Sam Raimi. Iconic. It came out in '92. The first showing it was '93 in the United States, but this is like Sam Raimi, I think, at his finest doing these kind of movies. I love it.
Well, I definitely think that's a better one than Casper. So good job.
You lousy little.
The first 2 are kind of weird because it's almost like a remake. You never seen Evil Dead?
Seen the Evil Dead series of movies, man?
No.
Oh, you're missing out, brother. Oh, man. Holy cow.
Yeah, I wonder if it would hold up these days, too.
Oh, it totally would, dude. It would still hold up these days. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. You can't go wrong.
Wow.
You cannot go wrong with Bruce Campbell on the Evil Dead series, man.
Yo, she-bitch. Let's go.
Well, that's my number 3.
All right. Well, my number 3. Well, first of all, I'm going to correct my number 2 because I said 79, but that was actually Phantasm. I was thinking about that.
Your number 4.
My number 4, yeah, was 87. Not 79. Phantasm was 79. However, my number 3 was also 87, and it was Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. Yeah, baby. I got to tell you, man. Yeah, I love me some Freddy, man. I love the first probably the first 4 or 5 were great. After that, I started falling off some. But number 3, man, was my favorite. Number 4 was pretty close. Dream Master was pretty close, because it had some of the same premise. But what I loved about this movie, well, number 1, this is the first time we get to see Harry Potter after he defeats Voldemort, right? So after Harry Potter defeats Voldemort, we see that he was seriously injured and got sent to this psych ward with a bunch of other kids, and he's in a wheelchair now, right? But and now he's got to fight Freddy, right? Is that how it worked? he did. Oh, Harry Potter didn't fare so well against Freddy, though. Freddy handed him his butt. But no, seriously though, man. I mean, I thought the premise of this movie was just awesome, man. You took all these kids who are the last of the Elm Street kids, right? Because Freddy's going after these kids because their parents killed them. So somehow all these freaking Elm Street kids, the last of the Elm Street kids, end up in this psych ward together. And then who comes back to help them out? Nancy, from the first one, right? So Nancy's coming back, and she actually working there now, trying to help these kids out, let them understand who Freddy is, where he came from.
I know who's trying to kill you.
And then, of course, in their dreams, they've all got powers. So you had
this is like the first Marvel movie, practically.
Yeah,
the Avengers
man.
level.
Yeah, exactly, dude, exactly. You had the freaking chick with the switchblades, right? Who thought she was hot, and then and then what I loved about it too, man, is most of their death scenes played off of their strengths and weaknesses, right? And then Freddy, and you talk about funny stuff, man. Like this isn't your typical slasher film where like Jason or Michael Myers where they don't talk, they're just running around slamming. I mean, Freddy's funny, dude. Freddy comes up with some funny stuff, like when he, he's like, when he slams that chick Angela's head through the, through the TV in the movie because she's all, she's like, I'm gonna be a movie star someday, and he picks her up on the TV.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
I mean, dude's awesome, man. I freaking love that movie. Like I said, number 4 was a close second of the Freddy franchise for me, man. But definitely Freddy franchise up there for me. And Dream Warriors is definitely my top of that list, and it's my number 3 on my all-time favorite horror movies.
Yeah, I think that's my top Nightmare on Elm Street one as well. So.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm surprised. I thought the first one was. I thought the first one was super creepy.
Oh, it was creepy. Yeah.
Johnny Depp.
Well, I loved that it was a slasher movie, but it was a totally different concept.
Exactly.
Like I said, Halloween, Friday the 13th, those were minimalist movies. This one was, goes where a lot of people are afraid the most, and that is
your dreams,
exactly, your nightmares, and stuff. And so I thought psychologically that to me was
yeah,
creepy.
dude. I mean, because if you're not safe in your, if you're not safe if you're in your own dreams, then where are you safe?
Exactly.
And of course that plays out where these kids are all freaking out, not wanting to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, man. I mean, what a fantastic idea that was, right? I mean.
Yep.
Wes Craven came up with there for, how can, let me get into people's dreams here and just get in their deepest and darkest fears and make this a reality, right? So that, you can't go wrong with that, man. That was just an awesome idea. Yeah, all right, man. Well, we're on to you now, Chris. Number 3, brother.
All right, my number 3 is The Conjuring. And that's from 2013. It's directed by James Wan, who is of Saw and Insidious franchises. And so a little fun fact about The Conjuring. So Amityville Horror, of course, came out in the 1970s. So for me, I thought Amityville Horror was definitely a top 10 horror flick.
Oh yeah, dude, I loved it.
But I didn't choose it only because The Conjuring kind of dips into that pond. So, and the reason why is because Ed and Lorraine Warren, who in the movies they call themselves demonologists, but in reality they were paranormal ghost hunters.
Investigators,
right? Yeah, paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, kind of like the stuff you see, on some of these cable shows and stuff now. That was them in the 1970s. And they documented a lot of the different things, a lot of the different places they went to, especially if something unusual happened. So even though Amityville Horror is not part of that franchise, they do reference it in The Conjuring.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Another fun fact. It is the second highest grossing horror franchise in history. Guess what number 1 is? Godzilla. They made their 35 total Godzilla films that grossed for $2.4 billion overall. The Conjuring had 8 films in the franchise and grossed $2.14 billion.
Yeah, well, Conjuring was awesome. Dude. I freaking love that movie. And I like I said, I stuck mine top 5 to old school movies. If I was gonna do newer movies, Conjuring would definitely been on my top 5 list. I love that movie, man. I love that franchise. The last one, we reviewed it. Wasn't as good, I didn't think, as the others, And, Josh and I were kind of like disappointed by it when we watched it.
Yep.
But, for the most part, that franchise is fantastic, man. Fantastic franchise. Great freaking scares in it. Good gore stuff. Good just all-around creepiness, man. Just creepy series, man. And I'll tell you. I love the creepy factor of it.
Yeah, and to touch on what you were just saying there is the first 2 movies that I said, my number 4, my number 5, these were ghost movies. These now start touching on more of the satanic stuff, the demons and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And for me, The Conjuring, while it was not exactly is how an exorcism would go, it definitely does touch on that. They do actually bring in the movie. They bring in an exorcist. They bring in they bring in the Catholic Church because they realize that this is something beyond anything that they've ever dealt with before. Okay, so and to me, I like that because when the Poltergeist and the Fog, these things scared me because they had kind of that anxiety, that the other fact. But this movie touches on something that a lot of people still believe is real, and that is...
Well, they try and sell it based on a true story, right?
Story, yeah.
Even though pretty stretched.
Right. Yeah, pretty stretched.
Especially the last one.
Pretty stretched for sure, but all you have to do is say, based on a true story.
That gets people.
And that 1%.
And that gets people.
Right, exactly.
That heightens that fear factor just that much
No,
more.
but you're right. The whole religious aspect to it, man, definitely just it makes it that much creepier. And I got to tell you, man, and of course what I love too is they tied them all together, right? All the movies they tie together. And I loved whenever, they went back to what really would have been the first one, The Nun. Loved that movie, man. That Nun was freaking creepy as crap. That was probably my favorite of the Conjuring series, man. And that one would have been up there on my list if I was going for newer age movies. But yeah, man, I just love the way, they tied all those movies together the way they did, and just how the story flowed. And like I said, up until that last one, I was really impressed with that whole series.
It was tough between The Nun and this movie, and even though The Nun is chronologically first, I still chose The Conjuring because it's the daddy of them all.
Yeah, this is the beginning.
It
I get
the
it.
series, but The Nun, creepy movie.
Oh, and these movies kind of freak me out the most. So, these movies aren't gory really or anything like that. They're just creepy.
I mean, there was some gore scenes in some of it, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, sometimes, but for the most part,
yeah.
they're pretty tame on the gore, not any cursing, so it's kind of like it's interesting. Like
Yeah,
the creep factor is really high,
ramped up, yeah.
And you were talking about Amityville. I believe there's a scene in that where some guy's going up the stairs, has his headphones on, you can hear something, and that freaked me out as a kid. And I couldn't even I can't even to this day when I go up my basement stairs and the lights are on, I sometimes book up there because I'm and I wouldn't even put headphones on if I'm in my basement in a situation like that. So that stuff kind of makes you think, and it's interesting what sticks with you when you see something as a child.
Oh, yeah,
and
man.
it's just kind of weird.
And honestly, man, I think that's one of the greatest things about the horror genre, right? There are just things about certain horror movies that, man,
it brings those emotions that other things don't.
It just sticks, man, and it's there for the rest of your life, man, and it's awesome. Yep. All right, well, number 3 down.
Movie number 2.
My number 2, Chris, you've actually mentioned this already. It's Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. And it ain't because I'm from Texas and I'm biased towards it, but it does help a little bit, I guess.
Hell yeah.
But nah, man, I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is an awesome movie, and we're talking about psychological thrillers. When you're watching these 5 kids, just drive down the road and, well, first of all, back then, I guess it would have been a big thing to pick up hitchhiker, but they pick up this crazy kid hitchhiker, right? And he ends up slicing one of them's arm, and just that, you're like, oh man, this ain't gonna be good. These kids are in for some crap. And then they're trying to go to this house out in the middle of nowhere, right? It's owned by the kid in the wheelchair's father, and then all hell breaks loose, man. And they end up in this freaking little backwoods town in Texas, and and just immediately, man, as soon as they start going to the neighbor's house to freaking just ask for some help, man, they just start getting hammered, man. Hammered by Leatherface. I mean, he takes that freaking sledgehammer, bashes that dude's head in it first. And it was just awesome, man. I mean, it was a lot of gore in this, just a lot of fear, a lot of thrills, I think. And what I really enjoy too is just, again, the psychological aspect, and there's the comedy too. I thought it was hilarious when the last chick alive, they take her captive and they take her into the house and they're making them have dinner with her, right? And she starts screaming bloody murder and they're like, oh yeah, scream on. They're making fun of her as she's screaming and they're screaming with her. And then they bring Grandpa down, who's like half dead. He's like a damn zombie pretty much. They bring him down in the chair from upstairs and they're like, all right, Grandpa's gonna have dinner. And they slice her finger and they make this old guy sucking on this woman's finger. And she's like screaming her brains out. But then what I also like just the way they did it they would like just focus in on her eyeballs, man. Like she's screaming, they got it zoomed in on her eyeballs and you can just see the terror in her eyes and stuff, man. And I just thought it was really cool how they did that with this movie. Now the funny part is, when they're running from Leatherface, man, because he just chasing after them with chainsaws and stuff. Like how this fat dude's running around, that long and freaking keeping up with these skinny people running around. So I don't know how that dude did it, how he kept up with him with that chainsaw. But I did like it had the mesquite bushes and all that stuff, man. So there's chicks running through mesquite bushes, getting caught in them, and then Leatherface is slicing through them, and she's making her way through, and he's slicing through the mesquite. Yeah, he's still catching up with her, having to slice through all this mesquite. But no, man, just the terror in that movie. And, and just the way some of those deaths, that first death just came out of nowhere, man. That dude just walks into the house like looking for help. And I'm like, you're just thinking like, is this guy going to die right here? Is he going to get chased around? And man, freaking Leatherface comes out with that freaking big old sledgehammer, just bashes his brains in. You're like, oh man, it was awesome. Just an awesome movie. Just your classic, psychological thriller / horror movie. And it almost started the slasher genre with a chainsaw,
Yep.
I mean, it's like a slasher genre movie, but it's not with a freaking machete or an axe or a knife. This dude's running around with a chainsaw, just slashing people up. And then I love the part where he slashed that dude up in the freaking wheelchair, man. I can do nothing, dude. He just walks up that dude, just starts slicing and dicing him, man, like he's a freaking pig, I was like, man. So, yeah, man, that movie is definitely, was up there for me in the old school movies. And that's my number 2, and it was just great flick, man. Great flick, and I think the old, they've redone that one before, but I think that old one, man, still stands the test of time. Just a great movie, great acting in it, and I loved it, man. That was a great movie.
It's hard to beat. I mean, it's your typical kind of like crazy slasher, but like the brutality of it, it took it to like another level, I think, back then.
Yeah, I mean, the brutality. I mean, we're talking about 1974 here. I mean, that was. I mean, we look at it now and we're desensitized by it, but 1974, not a lot of audiences were used to seeing that kind of cold-blooded, psychopathic killing.
I think that movie is what led to Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses and stuff like that, right? Like that type of brutality, or that dude getting ran over by the freaking truck in it and all that, man. I think that movie right there has spawned so much great, just brutal type horror genre movies nowadays, it definitely deserves a credit, man. That movie definitely deserves a credit for that, and it just, stands the test of time. It's awesome.
Yeah, and this is like the movie that really built that suspense. Like, there's someone after me, and you better not get caught by this guy.
Oh, yeah.
So
exactly, man. You caught your toast. So yeah, man, I had to throw that one up there in my top old school movies because it it deserves it, man. That movie, a lot of good stuff spawned from that movie. All right, Chris, you're up, brother. Number 2.
Well, I'm in the same decade as you. I'm going for number 2 for me. I actually was going to make this my number 1. I decided to make it my number 2 by very close margin. I'll explain that in the next one. But number 2 for me is The Exorcist, 1973, the year I was born. So that was directed by William Friedkin and produced and written by William Peter Blatty. Now, Blatty wrote the novel for The Exorcist in 1971. So this is actually based on his novel, and he also wrote the movie. So
you wrote the screenplay for it and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And who better to do it than the person who wrote the book?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it's one of the biggest reasons why it turned out so well. Also, it was the first horror movie to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Movie. It was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, but it only won 2, Best Special Effects and something else. But Best Special Effects, that says something right there.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, all of that was based on the character of the little girl who was possessed. I thought they did a good job with the makeup. I mean, obviously, the hurling vomit, the twisting head,
that was awesome.
The levitation, a lot of that stuff was very new.
Oh, yeah, and it's been copied many times over, right?
Yeah, when the vulgarity in that movie, man, some of the stuff that little girl was saying and doing, and it's like, man.
So that brings me to my next point on this, and that is that some of the viewers suffered some pretty adverse reactions to it, and some of these adverse reactions, physical reactions, in fact, were fainting, heart attacks.
That's kind of crazy.
Reports of miscarriages, vomiting. So I'm sure that was probably around the part where she, where Father Damien got a face full of green goo. And so it led psychiatrists to name a new psychological issue called cinematic neurosis. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
So, anyways, I mean, the film was originally supposed to have a rated X. Warner Brothers convinced the MPAA ratings board to knock it down to an R rating so they could get widest audience possible. But and they did, and of course, that was, even though it's rated R, who can kids go in with to see a rated R movie?
Right,
Their parents or their big brother, or their big sister, or whatever, right? So a lot of kids got to see this as well.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that's a good number 2, dude. I agree, man. That was a fantastic movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It didn't scare me as much as it did just kind of creep me out, right? It wasn't real scary, but it was definitely creepy, and it has that psychological factor to it, especially, like I said, the religious factor in it, man. It was just like, man, it was just a very creepy movie, and I enjoyed it, man. And
it's a sense of foreboding.
Yeah, exactly, man. No doubt, dude. I agree.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but Casper won out for me. So.
Yeah.
But my number 2, I'm going to bring you to 1984. 2 great movies came out in 1984. One, I originally had this on my list, but I was debating whether it's a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie, so it got bumped off, and that was Gremlins.
Yeah,
but that didn't make it. The other big movie that came out in 1984, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie, it's obviously not very scary. Maybe if you're a kid, it's pretty scary. But it's more of a comedy kind of action movie. And I mean, Ivan Reitman as the director just killed it. Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd, who wrote this. Sigourney Weaver coming off Alien and stuff like that. I mean, just phenomenal. They didn't even think she wanted to be in this, but she like kind of sought it out. The story is just amazing. You got Rick Moranis, who's awesome in this, and that's why they keep trying to make another one. A new one comes out this year. We'll see how good it is, because that female one, it didn't really hit the spot with me.
That was true horror right there. True horror.
I never even watched the female one. But no, dude, I mean, I agree, dude. Ghostbusters was fantastic. And what a cast, dude. I mean, back then, having that cast of guys together, man, that's like
amazing.
That's like the Expendables today or something like that.
Exactly.
Right? All these,
I tell you what scene did freak me out, though. That library scene when I was a kid, I was like, when that scene came up, I was just, it's kind of funny. You go back and rewatch it. It's not very scary at all. But at the time, it was amazing. Who doesn't love Slimer? Crossing the streams.
There's something very important I forgot to tell you.
What?
Don't cross the streams. Why? It would be bad.
Yep. Stay Puff, man.
Yeah.
Holy cow, dude. You gotta love Stay
Dan
Puff.
Aykroyd with a Stay Puff.
Well, there's something you don't see every day. Try to think of the most harmless thing. Something I loved from my childhood. Something that could never, ever possibly destroy us. Mr. Stay Puft. Nice thinking, Ray.
I mean, amazing. Zool. I love this movie, and I've shown it to my kids. They love it. It's timeless, amazing. It's just, the comedy is so like smartly written. It's not just like throwaway comedy. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, I agree with you, brother. And now I finally agree with you on one of your top 5 movies here.
It probably should be number 1, but it didn't hit that horror kind of niche for me.
Dude,
and I thought the second one was just as, if not as good, it was definitely a close second.
Oh yeah, second was good, yeah, man.
It's good.
Vigo,
I mean,
man.
not quite as good as the first one, but
it was still good.
Well, the problem with the second one too, Vigo just goes out so easy. If that would have been better, the whole movie would have been been great. So that's my number 2.
All right, man. Well, hey guys, so far I think we've had a fantastic list here, and I like the diversity. Right? I mean, Chris and I are kind of on the same page with some of our stuff, but Josh, but seriously, man, the stuff you're bringing to the table here, I never even really thought about. I was like, damn, Ghostbusters, what a great one, and I never, but I mean, not a horror movie, but a Halloween movie, like you said, and so that's fantastic, man. So, all right, guys,
all right, getting ready to get to number 1. Is it going to be Hubie Halloween? We'll see.
I hope not.
We'll see.
That's right, guys.
Movie number 1.
All right, everybody, here we go. We're ready for our unveiling of our number 1 movie for all 3 of us. But first, I'm pretty famished. Give me a second here. There we go. All right. That's much better.
You got any blood to drink?
That's much better.
I'll take some grog.
I'm out of that. Right. All right, Chris, you're up, man. Number 1 movie.
All right, my number 1 movie, Paranormal Activity.
Oh wow! I did not expect this from you.
I did not expect that either.
So,
really?
I'm gonna tell you why. A couple of fun facts here. It was produced, written, directed, photographed, and edited by one guy.
On a $2 million budget.
No. Oren Pell did everything on this movie. And all the scenes, everything that was taken from a perspective of a video camera that was set up in the house. So how cheap is that to be able to just set up like a decent video camera and different parts of the house to capture what really is basically kind of just a collection of recorded material by the two characters in the film.
And this is coming after the Blair Witch, which it kind of is similar to that, right?
Exactly. They kind of took that mockumentary look to it and went a whole other level than Blair Witch, which was a terrible film. But the production was only $15,000. Okay.
Holy cow!
So it was
I was way off by $2 million.
But it did. So when it was originally released, it was originally released in 2007, but we didn't see it then. We actually probably saw it more like late 2008, 2009, something like that. Because what happened was it went to the film festival. It was very well received. I believe it was Warner Brothers who picked it up. It was one of the big ones that picked it up, and took it and sprinkled a little bit more Hollywood magic on it. So that put post-production at $200,000. So the whole film made with post-production $215,000. The film grossed nearly $200 million worldwide.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
It is
pretty good profit.
It is the most profitable film based on return of investment ever.
Wow. Yeah, no, I got to tell you, man, I did enjoy that movie. Didn't necessarily think it was scary. I mean, I thought it was suspenseful. You know?
It's creepy. It's creepy, just like Conjuring is.
It's creepy.
Yeah,
it's creepy.
Yeah, but it wasn't, to me, the creepiest part was probably the end when that dude gets like thrown across the room and stuff, you know?
What's the build up to that too, right? You know, because you see like something like a chair moving. You're like, what was that?
Yeah.
The end of it, especially because what you hear is the dum, 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 dum. You know, and it's the wife, right? That's coming up, but she's completely possessed. So actually, you know, there was actually 3 endings. So
yeah, I remember seeing about that.
Yeah, so Oren had the one ending for his, and then he had. And then the Warner Brothers came up with 2 other ones. They didn't like his original one, and they came up with 2 other ones. One of them was her sitting there with a knife and kind of just out of it, and the police come up and you know, and that's it. And then the other one is that she, I believe after she kills the husband, you know, she just smiles into the camera and then it fades to black. But I loved this film. I thought the use of low budget effects, the mockumentary look to it, like I said, the Blair Witch Project, those methods yielded great results, and it was essentially an hour and a half of just eerie, like suspenseful anxiety. What's going to happen next? I mean, to me, nothing beats, beyond the loud noises and the fact that you know there's a demon possession going on there. I thought one of the creepiest things was there was a couple of parts of the film where the wife got out of bed in the middle of the night and just stood there and just stared down at the husband, and he's like, you know, flip flopping or whatever, you know, but she's just standing there. I mean, I'm like,
4 hours.
I looked over at my wife. I was like, if you ever do that to me.
Yeah, man. No. I mean, that was a great flick, man. No doubt about it. And I didn't know that about the, you know, cost production vice, what it grossed. And that's amazing. And that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear like the actors didn't get paid much, and they were kind of bitter that the movie made so much, but you know, they got paid like peanuts for this.
Right.
Well, they made more than made up for it because, of course, there were also, I believe there's 6 total. 5 other that are both prequel and sequels, and there is another installment coming out. It was supposed to come out this year. I'm not sure.
Now, are those as good as the original?
I would say that 2 and 3 fit the bill. 2 was good. 2 was kind of a simultaneous
I thought 2 was all right.
prequel and sequel at the same time. It kind of tells the story of how it got, you know. The other one was a sequel, but it was, you know, we're not going to the original cast there. As time goes by, the films get increasingly worse.
Right.
Now I will say,
which unfortunately is the case with a lot of movies, right?
Yeah.
And how they marketed this movie was brilliant as well, because they marketed it as like the scariest movie ever, and they showed audiences' reaction, which was really cool. And people are like, I got to go check this thing out.
This demonic movie, Paranormal Activity, scared me more just because it looked and felt so real.
Yeah,
if that means that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense, man. Because you're right. It did. It definitely looked and felt real. Like I said, to me, it wasn't as scary as I thought some people were saying it was, but I still enjoyed it. I still liked watching the movie. I still thought it was a good movie. So I'm not taking anything away from me. So yeah, I thought it was a great movie, no doubt about it.
I had to go home and watch a comedy after it. I'm serious, man.
Bring me down from the horror.
I can't even tell you what the movie was that I watched afterwards, but I had to watch something comedic after that.
Right. So. All right, man. That's a good number one. Eddie Van Munster, you're up, man. What do you got for us?
Movie number one. All right, this one has a little bit of horror and stuff in it, and this is 2011's Cabin in the Woods.
Oh yeah,
because I don't like just straight up slasher movies. You got to give me some kind of story in a movie, or I'm not going to enjoy it very much. And this one brings it all, and it's kind of like an homage to all horror movies in a sense. Like, you get a little bit of everything. You get like mermans in this thing. You get like a character that's kind of like Pinhead, bats, big snakes, and all that, and it takes that premise of like, there's this creepy cabin in the woods, but there's something sinister going on behind the scenes, and I love the twist to it.
Oh, yeah,
you don't even really see it coming. They kept it out of trailers for the most part, so like when that happens, it becomes like a totally different movie, and I just love the premise and the story, and it's got Sigourney Weaver, Chris Hemsworth in it.
Oh, I loved his death scene. That was hilarious, man.
There's some good ones in this, and I love like just like the whole betting behind it and everything like that.
More from me. If they were creative, they wouldn't be in maintenance. You're gonna have to split.
And I just love this movie because it hits like every note for me. It's got a little horror. It's got some comedy in it.
But this is zombie redneck torture family. See, they're entirely separate species.
And it's got a great story. So this is like my number one. Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Thor, before he's really big, he did Star Trek. Then I think he did this. At least it's how it came out. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great number one, and that's definitely in my top list of favorite movies, horror movies of all time, scary movies, however you want to look at it. Because you're right, man, that was a fantastic movie, and I love how they covered so many genres, and I love how then they kind of let you understand, like, hey, this is just one of many. Right. This is just one of many horror setups we got around the world, freaking where people are getting killed and stuff. So I thought that was an awesome twist, man. I was like, it's cool. So yeah, man, that was outstanding.
Well, it definitely opens it up, but
I'm surprised they haven't tried to make another one at this.
Yeah, I'm surprised too, because I thought watching that film, when they opened it up, saying, "Hey, this is just one of a few places," like the horror B&Bs from hell,
Right.
I thought, okay, another one's coming.
I mean, it doesn't end too well to really open it up for a sequel, but
well, you'd have to have like almost a whole new cast,
right?
Really.
Right.
So
when it doesn't even have to be a sequel. I mean, you could show.
You'd have to go back or something,
or you could show one, or you could show a house just in another part of the world, one of the different houses, and what's going on at the same time this house is going on, right? So there's plenty of things they could do with it,
Exactly.
So I mean, man, I would definitely like to see a sequel, or a follow on at least, to that movie, because it was great, man.
Yeah, and maybe it wouldn't be as good because the premise is pretty unique and the twist, which you don't see coming, and that would be kind of lost in a sequel. So I don't know.
That's a good number one. My number one, Josh, you alluded to it earlier when you were talking about Army of Darkness, but I got to tell you, man, the beginning of that franchise, Evil Dead, that movie scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, man. Holy cow, dude. And, and again, we've talked about, like, just having, like, that religious, demonic aspect of movies just gets you that eerie and that creepy feeling, man. And that movie freaking was all about it. And I love just, the way the music played out through it, just got that creepy vibe to it. And the fact that you never really saw the demon that was possessing these people, right? I mean, you would get views on the outside of like of it moving through the woods and stuff, but you never got to see what it looked like. And next thing you know, these people are getting possessed, and I love the makeup they had for them, man. I thought it was great special effects they had in this movie, and just the gore in it and stuff, man, and just the kind of the comedy too. With and this one wasn't near as funny, obviously, as Army of the Dead.
Yeah, as time got on, it just got more goofy. And goofy.
Oh yeah, dude. But it had enough goofiness to it and stuff, man. The way these kids were interacting with each other and everything, it was just awesome.
I don't care what happens to her. She's your girlfriend. You take care of her.
I love that movie. It scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. For me, when I was a kid, that was probably the scariest movie I'd ever seen. At the time, and I just, I loved everything about it. I loved Bruce Campbell in it, man. I love both follow-ons. And for me, for my old school horror movies, man, that's definitely my top one, man. I just loved Evil Dead. You know, and the following ones didn't let you down, right? Evil Dead 2 was great.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness was great. You know, so both the sequels to it were fantastic. You know, this ain't one of those where the sequels let you down, man. They were just, the whole franchise was good, and just overall fantastically done horror movie, man. Just awesome.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. I think I actually enjoy the second one better. I mean, but obviously I have different tastes. The first one is much the serious one of the bunch. So, and I prefer the comedy aspect a little more. So, but the second one hits the sweet spot between the two, though.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, dude, it does. Yeah, and Chris, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry you've never seen these movies.
Gotta watch them.
Dude, you are missing
out.
Well,
Halloween's around the corner, so you got time this year.
Man.
Yeah, I don't know how you missed that.
You need to get home with your wife and say we're watching Evil Dead series because Bill and Josh said we had to, and you need to freaking check it out, man.
And Scooby Doo.
I finally got around to watching that. I finally got around to watching that one movie, that Scottish one. So,
do we have any honorable mentions before we head out?
I will give you an honorable mention because, you know, like I said, I base mine off old school movies. Now, if there was a newer movie that I would love to give an honorable mention to, it would be Babadook. The Babadook was a fantastic movie. Australian director. I want to say it was like the first movie she'd ever made, dude, but just talk about creepy movies, man. Have either one of you see Babadook?
No.
Holy cow, man. Super creepy movie. Amazing acting. Like, the kid in this movie is annoying as hell, but his acting is phenomenal, dude. Like, you really think this kid is just going through this stuff, man. And just, you know, just the scary jump scares in it, but then not just the jump scares, man, but just the creepy factor, man. I mean, this movie is just super creepy. I mean, it's got this, you know, this children's book that's basically like not a children's book, and they're reading through it, and it's just getting creepier and creepier, and then all this stuff starts happening in the house and in their lives. Freaking fantastic movie, man. I remember when I saw that, I was in awe. I was like, man, you know, and I think I watched it right around the time it came out, around probably 2014, 2015 is when I saw it. And I just remember thinking to myself, wow, what a fantastically put together movie. Like, that woman did an amazing job. You know, that Australian director that put it together. And I was floored, man. I was floored how amazing. I mean, the ending probably could have been a little better, but at the same time, it was still good, man. It was just, I thought it was a fantastic movie. So, I mean, for newer movies, especially lesser known horror movies, man, that's definitely an honorable mention for me because that movie was awesome.
Well, I'm going with the classic for honorable mention for me, and that's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
There you go.
So when I was compiling this list, during the time that I was compiling this list, in fact, I was starting to look at starting old school classics, Frankenstein, Dracula, that kind of stuff. During that time, my wife and I actually went to our oldest daughter's college and saw their college production of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I seriously considered putting it down as one of my top 5, but I'm good with what I have here. But I will say that
you got a good list, man.
that movie was brilliant.
Oh, it was. It was a great movie.
It was a brilliant movie. I mean,
absolutely,
I can't remember the name of the actor.
Gary Oldman.
And
Keanu Reeves.
The best Dracula ever, Gary Oldman.
Oh, he did awesome. Yeah. No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it, dude. Fantastic acting.
And I thought, you know, the creepy part with the you know, the other vampires and stuff when they were coming in, getting ready to consume you know, Jonathan when he was in the castle. You know, even though the rest of the movie didn't really creep me out, and I kind of knew how it was going to go. I thought that was very well done. The makeup, the just the effects, everything was just really well done for an early 90s movie.
And then you had the hot vampire chicks in it too. You know, that definitely helped out, right? So, but
I can't say.
Well, I'm glad you're a fan of my work. Yeah, my honorable mentions are probably the Gremlins. Like, I struggled going back, I'm like, Christmas, Halloween, we'll see. And then the other movie that I'm a fan of is Get Out, which surprised me as well, and I like that one. And that one's not too scary, but I love the suspense. I love the story on that.
And the comedy in it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a
great movie, dude.
It's just a fun movie. I've seen it a million times, and I never get bored with it. So Get Out would be a definite.
Fantastic. That is just a fun movie to watch, man. That movie, dude. If you haven't seen that, man, your wife would love that movie, dude. Y'all need to sit down and watch that. It's just a fun movie to to watch. It's got the suspense in it, but it's got some comedy in it, and it's just the kind of the racial comedy that's in it and stuff. Man, what a great movie, dude. What a fantastic.
Yeah, I think you'd probably like that movie.
Oh yeah, man, it was awesome. But hey guys, this was freaking fun, dude. This is awesome.
That's a great time.
Love getting dressed up here for our spooktacular episode. Chris.
Thanks Billy, for suffering through this with that costume.
Oh, dude, it's hot. I'm sweating, brother. I'm sweating.
I absolutely am grateful that you guys brought me on. I love the genre. I love talking about movies as much as you guys do, and I appreciate it.
Nah, man, you came well prepared, man. You had some good stuff to say, dude. That was awesome. We appreciate it. And hey, guys, we really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit like and subscribe, and we hope you guys have an awesome and fantastic Halloween, everybody. Till then, we'll check you at the next review.
Bye, everybody. My hair is getting everywhere. All right, so what am I doing? You're going to be shocked, Billy.
Good, I'm ready for some shocking, man. Let's do it. Ain't much more shocking than get my head cut off. All right, everybody. Why don't we go with Chris, you, then me, and then it'd be you, me, Chris. So.
That's confusing. Oh, you're saying like you, then me, then you.
No, he's saying you, me, him, and kind of rotate like that.
Okay. So who's going first?
You.
Okay.
Wouldn't be me.
Yeah,
he peeked at my Scooby-Doo, man.
I can't even see it from here.
Movie Peekins.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I did.
You know all the trolls are going to come out, though, in the comments and be like,
yeah, they are.
It wasn't 79, it was 87, dumbass.
Yeah, they
way to go.
Yeah.
That's my hairline.
I mean...
All right, do we want to take a break here?
Yeah, let's take a break and come
and
back
then step outside maybe for a second?
Oh, my gosh, yeah.